I will say that I am just completely disgusted by your performance today, and I understand that you're probably in a position where you're being told not to testify, which is why we had to subpoena you. I think that goes back to Garland. But again, that is part of the flushing that we need to get out of Washington, and I would be happy to assist in that process. Chairman, I yield the rest of my time.
Well said. Man, that was just a little snippet from yesterday. Boy, did Director Cheatle get cooked in that Senate or in the House hearing, oversight hearing. Boy, words don't do it justice. I put some clips together. Hope you guys enjoy them. Let's check them out, man. I'll be back in a second.
Our mission of the Secret Service is to protect the president, the vice president, their immediate families, presidential candidates, the former presidents. I can tell you the way that our personnel are trained. They are trained on the use of force scale, that when they see a threat, they are authorized to neutralize that threat. There is no, they don't have to ask for permission.
So would it be safe to say that you failed the mission, the ultimate mission?
I mean, Director, an individual walking into a rally with a rangefinder, scoping out around protecting the rooftop, and he reportedly flew a drone over hours before. It sounds like a lot more than suspicious, especially at a presidential rally.
To the best of my knowledge, based on what I've been told thus far, it's approximately 5 minutes to where individuals relayed that there was an incident being worked at the 3 o'clock of the president.
So that was, but it was before the shots were fired? That
is correct, but again, it was not phrased as a threat. It was just that something was being worked.
Yeah, but my question is, when did he become, when did he transform from suspicion to threat? Because they're treated very differently. People can be suspicious, but they're not a threat until a certain point in time. So when did that happen?
We're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle.
I believe that it was seconds before the gunfire started.
Seconds. My gosh, we actually have a few questions that we got answered.
Seconds. Now, he only became a threat seconds before the gun was fired. Now, I guess that everybody there in attendance, right, everyone who spotted him is clearly does, you know, the Secret Service's job better than they do. I mean, what a ridiculous claim. So a lot of time was spent yesterday on determining whether he was a threat, whether he was suspicious, all these sorts of things. You know, they discussed the rangefinder. In my opinion, how do you even let someone in with a rangefinder, right? There's no need to acquire range at a rally when someone's speaking. There's nothing good could come of that, right? If you want to use the binocular function in a rangefinder, too bad. Bring a pair of binoculars.
You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof, we can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And
we have been getting some more video from the event. And one of the videos is pretty incredible, I have to admit. Shocking from the event. Shocking video, because you have people that were attending the event, but they were where the barn or the building, the warehouse where the shooter was lying down was situated, and they were right next to the warehouse, and they were pointing at the shooter, who was lying down in position to take his shot. And this was going on for like a minute, 2 minutes, and they were yelling, "There's a guy on the roof! There's a guy on the roof!" And they're talking to the police, yelling at the police, "Police! There's a guy on the roof!" And for 2 minutes, he was just sitting there, lying there, and no one did anything. That was an incredible video.
Who was the agent in charge? How long has she been the agent in charge? And what is her Secret Service background?
So I'm not going to provide a name.
Why not? You're here to answer our questions.
Forum. I'm not going to provide names of
You stated in your testimony, you said,
Let her
I
go
am
now.
here today to answer your questions.
Let her hang herself.
That is correct.
Answer the question.
I'm not going to provide names of our personnel
Why not?
today.
The American people are demanding these answers from you today, Ms. Cheatle.
Director Cheatle, can you please give me the names of the individuals who are in charge of your conduct for the rally?
I'm not going to release names.
Can you give me the
today.
titles? And how many individuals?
No.
Nothing?
We had a full advance team that was responsible
Who
for
are the,
advancing
how many
the
people are
site.
the final approval authority?
There are a number of people
Can you give me a
that are
number?
engaged in approving
Can you
the
give
plan.
me a number?
No, I do not have
Okay.
a firm number.
We'd like a copy of the advance report. Have you brought it here with you today?
We will comply with the request for the documentation that has been requested.
When will that be, Ms. Cheatle? Because you should have brought it today.
I am certain that our personnel are working on obtaining all of that documentation.
I don't believe you.
Need to know why he waited for multiple rounds to be fired at President Trump before the threat was neutralized. We need to know if he was given an order to hold fire.
The biggest question is how does an assailant get on a rooftop that close to the former and future president? That's an easy shot for somebody that can be just really a recreational shooter.
The Secret Service, though, pushing back against that criticism, saying it bolstered security.
To be honest with you, after the first shot, you get a return fire immediately? The minute that a shot rang out, they should have already been on scope. Your spotter should have already have called the distance if you hadn't looked at your range card, and you should have immediately engaged. There should have been no reason to have waited a single second.
You can't seem to answer a single question about an ongoing investigation, ma'am, and you don't know when the information will be released publicly. Are you waiting for the administration to sign off?
So as you can see, she couldn't even answer basic questions about the day and the events that happened. She didn't even know who's running things, who's in charge on the ground, rather. Crucial, critical pieces of information she had no idea about, right? All these things that we've been looking at for a week, right? All these glaring issues, all the issues that people have been questioning for the last week, right? She stonewalls. She refused to address anything in specific about the facts of the day. This couldn't be any more of a disgrace and truly a tell as to what's going on. You know, she clearly can't be working in the best interest of us and our country. I mean, this looks like this is someone up there that's taken a fall. No doubt about it. You know, a lot of things came up that have been circulating in the last week. The sloped roof here came up, but it's interesting to note that the vibe and the energy of the hearing in the moment, it was very serious, right? Like the sloped roof and the meme, it was laughable and it's funny, right? But this was very, very serious in the moment. You can tell that later on. I think it's in another video that I did about the drone. Go check that out, about drone coverage at the rally. If it's not in this video, but the one representative, he talks about how he drove out to Butler and to see the grounds, see him for himself. Yeah, so he drives out there to check out the grounds, and he said that it was appalling because he could have hit the podium from the roof with a 9-iron, and you could tell it was a prepared line. And let me tell you, it, not that it didn't hit, but you could tell for the moment it was a bit too soft, right? The vibe for that hearing was serious, more serious than a joke like that, and certainly more serious than talking about this sloped roof garbage, right? So check that out, how she answers that, and see where that leads to.
Fun with that. I hope you are too.
Yeah, if you're watching on Twitter, you know, you see the cows on slanted roofs and so forth.
Right.
They have cows and all sorts of things on slanted roofs. So anyway, I want to know why Mayorkas doesn't want her to testify.
Do you continue to assert the slope of the roof as a credible reason for leaving this position undefended?
First, I'll go back and correct that there was no order to hold fire. Our agents and officers have the ability to neutralize a threat at the time
So you don't
they
know,
see it.
You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof, we can see him from right here. We see him.
I'm sorry, you don't know the communication that was taking place or how long he had him in his sights. You excuse the roof being unmanned because of the slope. Do you stand by that assertion?
The roof was not covered with an individual on it because there was overwatch provided. The roof was not covered with an individual on it. The roof was not covered with an individual on it. Was not covered with an.
The biggest question is how does an assailant get on a rooftop that close?
Apparently not. No, there was no overwatch provided.
So when you have these counter snipers waiting until 8 rounds are fired, what accounts for that?
It was rally goers who first spotted the gunmen crawling on top of the building.
Did the Secret Service tell President Trump they'd spotted a suspicious individual before he was shot?
I am unclear as to what the communication was with the former president.
Okay,
at that
I'll
time.
take that as a no.
The Secret Service, though, pushing back against that criticism, saying it bolstered security.
President Trump was shot. A man died. There was no oversight provided.
It bolstered security.
You've been sitting here for over 3 hours, and I have you know the entire country is demanding you resign and demanding that you be fired if you do not resign. Things are not going well for you. You need to answer the questions.
Again, I don't have those specific timelines, but it was a relatively short period of time.
Let me help you. 5:52. Ms. Cheatle, why was President Trump allowed on stage 10 minutes after the Secret Service spotted a suspicious individual?
I was up at the fence line, saw the guy move from roof to roof, told an officer that he was on the roof.
That seems to me to be the worst thing of all.
You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof, we can see him from right here. We see him.
From all the breakdown and all this communication, all the BS you've been feeding us here today or not feeding us, that seems to be the question.
I heard that there was somebody that could see the person, so I went back to where they were standing, saw the person, went back and told the officer again that.
So as I've stated before, there are a number of events where suspicious people may be identified. That doesn't necessarily.
Ma'am, I submit to you, you got a guy who's going to be the next president of the United States. He's on stage. I've been to these events. We've all been to these events. A car backfires and there's a 15-minute dadgum wait. That's not acceptable.
And I submit to you that you couldn't put it any better right there. I mean, that was just well done. What a disgrace. I mean, you know, what we all witnessed yesterday from Director Cheatle, representing the left and the Biden administration. It was inexcusable. Left us with a lot more questions than we have answers. But we know that this officer, the Secret Service, probably will forever be disgraced by her behavior yesterday. Not just during the attempted assassination, but yesterday as well, for sure. So check out these other videos I got on the topic. And plus, I got one coming up talking about how this has to do with the Nord Stream pipeline. Some pretty interesting stuff, man. You're going to want to check that out. So thanks for checking out the videos. I'm Zach, and till next time. Later.
Not answering a congressional hearing, members of Congress, while you are under oath and under a subpoena. I find it maddening that the director, that our country has come centimeters away from oblivion under your watch.
So this is divine intervention. This is the God having his protective hand and wearing Ephesians 6, the armor of God, over the president, because this right here, a millisecond or a millimeter in change, and this isn't an attempted assassination. This is an assassination of a president.
You have answers. You are refusing to give those to us. You need to be fired. You do not need to hold this position. You are not the best for this job. I am over my time, but I cannot tolerate your watch any longer, and I'm going to continue to call daily for you to be removed from your position, ma'am.
Chair recognizes Mr.